Welcome back to DFC Books. So
Yeah.
today we're jumping into a real classic, one of the most celebrated novels to come out of the Second World War, Herman Wouk's The Caine Mutiny.
Oh, absolutely. It's a Pulitzer winner for a reason.
I agree.
And it's one of those books that just sticks with you because it uses the very intense, confined world of a single ship, the USS Caine, as this stage for these massive contradictory ideas.
That's it, exactly. You've got order versus conscience, leadership versus failure.
And we have a ton of material to get through today. The goal here isn't just to, walk through the plot points.
Right. We want to do a real psychological trace of the key events, focusing on how these characters develop. I mean, how did this small group of men, from this very reluctant ensign to a paranoid captain, get to a point where they have this massive confrontation?
Well, and what's so critical to grasp, I think, is that at its heart, this is a coming-of-age story. It's just disguised as a war story. It's about a privileged kid being forced to grow up, and it's slow and it's painful.
And the whole thing, the entire ordeal, really begins and ends with that kid. Our story really turns on the evolution of one Ensign Willie Keith. Okay, let's unpack this. Wouk has this great line, this great metaphor where he says the whole massive story, this vault door, turns on the small jewel bearing of Willie's personality.
And at the start, that personality is just defined by comfort, by softness.
Totally. I mean, physically, he's described as, what, medium height, somewhat chubby, curly red hair.
Yeah.
He's got this innocent gay face. Not exactly the strong-jawed hero type.
Not at all. He's Princeton, class of 41. His degree is in comparative literature, but his real passion, the thing he thinks is like witchcraft, is playing the piano.
And making up those little songs for his college buddies. He's really just a creature of the arts, of leisure.
And that totally informs how he enters the war. It's not with this burning sense of duty.
No, he just sort of brings it up at dinner right as his mother is trying to give him a second helping of dessert. It's the perfect image for his sheltered life.
And his family immediately tries to get him out of it. His doctor father, his very overbearing mother, they start this whole campaign to get him back into literature, arguing that's where his talents are.
And Willie is more than happy to go along with it.
Oh, yeah. While the war is really starting to rage, Singapore falls, the Pacific campaign is heating up, he spends 5 months playing piano at the Club Tahiti in New York.
It's a conscious avoidance of the war, and he's totally insulated by his family's money and influence.
And that physical exam he has before induction, it's just such a perfect little snapshot of his resistance to the whole military machine.
It's hilarious, but it's also so telling. The doctor's like, he can't touch his toes because he's got quite a breadbasket.
And then he gets diagnosed with lordosis, a slight curvature of the spine. So in this panic, he tries to, cheat the system by snapping himself double.
And he hears this ugly crack in his back.
Yeah. And the whole thing ends with him just glaring at the pharmacist's mate who flagged him in the first place. He exchanges this look of pure hate. It's this deep resentment for the institution that's judging him, that's forcing him out of his comfortable little world.
But before the military can completely swallow him up, he meets May Win.
May Win. Or Marie Minotti. She is so important because she's the first person who really pulls him outside of his mother's very structured, very high society world.
She gets him into the lower depths of Manhattan.
Exactly. And she challenges all his class prejudices. She's a nightclub singer, sure, but she's not frivolous. She's got these amazingly bright brown eyes. She's super pragmatic. She takes the subway, lives in the Bronx, doesn't even have a phone.
And critically, she can sing Mozart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which to Willie's world is a sign of high culture, but his reaction when he finds out her real name, her Italian name, is so revealing.
It's this mix of, relief, pleasure, and disappointment.
Exactly. Because in his mother's circle, knowing opera is a sign of free breeding, unless you're actually Italian, then it just becomes this thing that, strips away her mystery. He's disappointed she's not some exotic siren, but a hardworking girl from the Bronx who his mother would just instantly write off.
But she grounds him. He spends his last few months just blowing all his money on long-distance calls to her.
Which brings us to the moment that really shatters all of that immaturity. The key event, really, his father's revelation. This is his real call to duty.
His father, who's always been this sort of mild background figure, gives him a sealed envelope right before he leaves.
And tells him not to open it until the day he reports to his ship, the Caine.
And the letter is it's devastating.
Yeah, his father reveals he's dying of malignant melanoma, and that he's known for a long time.
The sacrifice he made was putting off his own hospital treatment just so he wouldn't spoil Willie's last few months at home.
It just completely reframes everything for Willie. The war is no longer this external thing. It's about honoring his father.
And that final piece of advice from his father is aimed right at Willie's biggest flaw: wasting time.
Be a man, he says. But the key line is, there is nothing more precious than time. Wasted hours destroy your life.
And that letter it works. Instantly. It gives him this sense of commitment he never had before.
He's no longer Willie Keith, the Princeton piano player. He's now defined by this sense of mortality, this need to make his time count. Which is good, because the naval discipline he's about to face is going to test him severely.
So Willie has this new, profound sense of duty. But that doesn't mean he's suddenly a good officer.
Not even a little bit. His time at midshipman school at Columbia is a complete train wreck.
He's famous for it, right?
Totally. He's a campus celebrity for all the wrong reasons. He racks up an incredible 48 demerits.
Yeah.
Just for context, the next guy had, what, 7?
7. It's not even close. And then there's that great little scene with Kiefer, who he meets for the first time here.
Right. Kiefer, who's this old military man from some academy, tries to show Willie how to work his rifle bolt.
And Willie, in classic Willie fashion, just fumbles it.
The spring just pops out from between his fingers, and the window is open, so it just sails out into the night. Gone.
And losing a piece of your rifle is a huge deal in the Navy. It's the kind of thing that gets you bilged, flunked out.
Exactly. And his main adversary, this ensign Brain, seems to live for catching Willie making these mistakes.
Oh, he loves it. 5 demerits because his hair's a fraction of an inch too long. It's absurd.
All of this adds up and pushes him over the limit. He's about to be kicked out of the Navy. He has this vision of himself being carted across the Atlantic, clad in brown.
The Army. The ultimate horror for him.
So he gets called into Commander Merton's office, expecting the worst.
And what saves him? I mean, by the book, he should be gone.
Well, Merton is an experienced leader. He recognizes that Willie is dealing with these extraordinary, once-in-a-million circumstances. He knows about his father, and that Willie isn't malicious. He's just clumsy.
So instead of bilging him, he actually secures his assignment.
He does. He gets him assigned to the USS Caine, DMS-22, in the Pacific. It's this amazing act of grace, you know, bending the rules for the human element, which is something we are not going to see later in the story.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So Merton sets his course, but then the Navy bureaucracy does its best to lose him.
The search for the Caine in San Francisco is a nightmare. He gets there, and the ship had shoved off this morning.
And he just gets bounced around. I'm personnel. You'll have to see transportation. Then transportation sends him back to personnel. It's maddening.
And this whole mess lands him in Pearl Harbor, where he faces this huge temptation, a way out of the war entirely.
Admiral's piano.
The Admiral's piano, he plays at a party, the Admiral loves him, and he's basically offered the safe, cushy shore billet. Playing piano, picnics with nurses, rosy tans, the works.
Yo, Willie would have jumped at that in a second.
But this is the new Willie, the one who read his father's letter. He turns it down. He tells the captain, it just doesn't seem like fighting the war playing piano for the Admiral.
He chooses the ordeal his father talked about.
Yeah.
And that commitment is what finally gets him on a plane and out to the front lines.
So Willie finally gets to the USS Caine, and any romantic ideas he had left about naval service just get vaporized.
Immediately. He has to walk across this wobbly, tar-covered plank just to get on board.
And the ship itself is not the sleek destroyer he probably pictured. He calls it a pile of junk in the last hours of decay, manned by hoodlums. It's rusty, it's messy.
And the crew seems to confirm that vibe right away.
Oh, yeah. The officer of the deck just says, "Ho, don't be so eager. You don't know what you're jumping into." The whole atmosphere is incredibly relaxed. Too relaxed.
And then he have that weird encounter with Whitaker, the steward's mate.
Yes. That is so unsettling. Willie just asks him how he likes the ship, and Whitaker's eyes just bulge. He backs away, saying, "Best ship in the whole Navy, sir," and then just runs out.
It's this little flash of fear, of robotic compliance, that tells you something is really wrong under the surface, even with the so-called relaxed Captain DeVries.
Let's talk about DeVries and that wardroom. He's this messy, lazy captain who hates paperwork.
But he gets results. He doesn't care about the book. He cares about what works. And he can do that because his executive officer, Maurice, is so competent.
Merrick, he's the practical seaman, the fisherman. Looks like a prize fighter, but has this innocent smile.
He's amazing at seamanship, navigation, fixing things, but his weakness is the book stuff, the theory.
Right. And then you have the complete opposite in Kiefer.
Kiefer, The communications officer, the intellectual, the aspiring novelist.
He's the cynical brain of the ship. His whole thing is that the Navy is a master plan designed by geniuses for execution by idiots. He's brilliant, but it's an arrogant brilliance that lets him off the hook from ever taking real responsibility.
So you've got this collection of oddballs held together by de Vries's, let's call it a results-oriented command style.
And the perfect example of that style is the lost tow line incident, right before de Vries leaves.
Right, so during these exercises, the Caine is actually doing pretty well, despite being a rust bucket. But the smart ship, the Molten, loses a piece of gear.
A paravane. And Merrick, being the practical fisherman he is, doesn't wait for orders. He doesn't look in a manual. He just dives into the water and retrieves it himself. It's pure instinct, pure seamanship.
And while this is happening, Willie is so distracted watching Merrick that he messes up. He mislays an important dispatch.
Which could have been a huge deal. De Vries gives him a written rebuke, but then he immediately downplays it. He tells Willie to just erase it with one good one. He's forgiving. He cares more about the officer than the paperwork.
And then, just like that, the de Vries era is over. He's relieved of command.
His parting advice to his replacement, Queeg, is that Merrick has the men trained up pretty fair. And his last words as he leaves the Caine say everything about him. Happiest damn moment of my life.
He hated the bureaucracy, loved the results, and was just glad to be done with it. Which brings us to Captain Queeg.
Lieutenant Commander Philip Francis Queeg. And he is the total opposite of de Vries. His arrival signals this massive shift from relaxed competence to rigid, by-the-book something.
It's not competence, though.
No. Visually, he's immediately unsettling. He's got this oval face, sandy hair, and the telltale sign, the two steel balls, constantly rolling them in his hand.
Which we find out later is a conscious trick to hide the fact that his hands are always trembling.
And he arrives to find the Caine a total mess, and he lays down the law in his first speech to the officers.
It's basically his totalitarian manifesto.
It is. He says, you go by the book and you'll get no argument from me, and I don't lose arguments on board the ship. He's making it clear he is the law, and the book is just his weapon.
And at first, Willie actually likes him, which seems odd given how much he hated the rules and training.
Well, I think it's the appeal of order after all that chaos. Willie was tired of the sloppiness on the Caine. He thought Queeg was finally restoring them to the Navy. He mistook rigidity for competence.
A mistake he'll soon regret. Because Queeg's obsession with the book is immediately undermined by his own failures.
Oh, the irony is just brutal. His very first major action as captain is a spectacular screw-up. The grounding.
He's so eager to get underway at Pearl Harbor that he just drives the ship right into the mud.
And a grounding is a major incident. You have to report it. But Queeg's first instinct isn't to solve the problem. It's to protect his own reputation.
He suggests they just not send a report. A flagrant violation of the rules he just said were absolute.
It sets the precedent right away. He's not by the book. He's by the Queeg. And he expects his officers to be his co-conspirators. He tells Gorton to go snoop around to get inside info on the investigation.
So when he can't cover it up, he just blames everyone else.
He blames the whole crew. He cancels everyone's shore leave. And this is where he establishes his infamous rule. The innocent must suffer with the guilty.
Which just destroys morale.
Yeah.
Instantly, the captain becomes the enemy, not the Japanese.
And from there, the fear and the arbitrary rules just spiral into genuine paranoia. The next big incident is what gives him his famous nickname.
Old Yellowstone.
The Yellowstone fiasco. During target practice, Queeg is trying to follow the manual, but he gets confused, maneuvers erratically, and ends up cutting the tow line, losing the target.
And he cut the line himself, but he won't admit it.
No, he sends this evasive message saying a defective tow line parted. A total lie. He gets a humiliating message back from command about the latest fiasco.
Yeah, and the lost target released this yellow dye marker into the water.
Which the crew immediately connects to his cowardice. He becomes Old Yellowstone. And the tension on the ship just ratchets up another 10 notches.
But the incident that perfectly, and I mean perfectly, captures his paranoia is the strawberry investigation.
Oh, the strawberries. It's so absurd and so telling. A gallon of strawberries goes missing from the officer's mess.
And Queeg doesn't see it as petty theft. He sees it as a conspiracy, a personal attack.
His investigation is just... It's insane. He polls every officer on how many ladles they had. He makes the stewards demonstrate the ladle size.
And he concludes that the only possible explanation is that someone made a duplicate key to the icebox.
A duplicate key. So he orders every single man on the ship, all 400 of them, to turn in every key they own. And he has his junior officers sit there for hours testing every single key on the padlock.
While the ship's actual duties are just ignored.
Of course, the truth is much simpler. Ensign Doosley tells Willie right before he leaves the ship.
The mess boys just ate them.
The mess boys ate them and scraped the can clean. That's it. But when Willie tries to tell Queeg this, he dismisses it. He's convinced it's a lie. His paranoid narrative is completely sealed off from reality now.
And the final straw, before the typhoon, is the court-martial of the gunner's mate, Stillwell.
Queeg goes after Stillwell for lying about his mother being sick to get leave. And Willie is appointed the recorder for the court-martial, which puts him in this impossible position.
And he rebels, in his own small way. He advises Stillwell to plead not guilty, which is a total breach of his role.
And you see the other officers, Kiefer, Harding, Painter, push back too. They give Stillwell this tiny punishment, loss of 6 liberties. It's a slap on the wrist. They refuse to be part of Queeg's vindictive crusade.
And all of this, the paranoia, the strawberries, the Stillwell affair, it leads Kiefer to finally put a name to it.
Yes, Kiefer, the intellectual, makes the diagnosis, paranoia. And this is the key, because it gives Merrick, the practical seaman, the intellectual justification he needs to start taking this seriously.
So Merrick starts his secret log.
Reluctantly. He's not a writer, he's a fisherman. But he gets a book on mental disorders from another ship and starts documenting every irrational thing Queeg does. That log becomes his shield and eventually his lifeline.
Merrick's fear that Queeg's paranoia would actually endanger the ship finally becomes reality when they sail into typhoon shore.
This is the crucible. This is where the rules just fall apart in the face of survival.
The storm is horrific. The Caine is rolling up to 45 degrees. Green water is crashing over the bridge.
And Queeg is up there with Merrick, and as the storm gets worse, he just shuts down. He's paralyzed by terror.
The ship is in the trough of the waves, which is the worst possible place to be. It's going to sink. But Queeg won't change course.
No, he just keeps repeating that he's not disobeying orders on account of some bad weather. He is so rigid, so terrified of being wrong, that he would rather follow the last order he received than save the ship.
And Merrick sees this. He hears the crew begging him to do something. He has to make the hardest decision of his life. He relieves the captain under Article 184.
The absolute moral center of the book, Article 184, allows a subordinate to relieve a commanding officer if waiting for higher authority is undoubtedly impracticable.
And it clearly is. They'll be at the bottom of the ocean.
So Merrick does it. He says, "I'm sorry, sir. You're a sick man. I am temporarily relieving you of this ship."
And Willie, as the officer of the deck, has to write it down. He notes the time, 15 minutes to 10.
And Merrick immediately takes command, turns the ship stern to the wind, the correct seamanship move, and saves them all.
But the second the danger is past, the alliance that led to this moment just shatters.
Kiefer, who diagnosed the paranoia, who encouraged Merrick to keep the log, just completely folds.
He panics. When Merrick asks him to come with him to report what they've done to the Admiral, Kiefer refuses. He calls it a rash and disastrous thing.
The intellectual who pushed for rebellion lacks the moral courage to face the consequences. It's a stunning moment of cowardice.
And the consequence, of course, is a court-martial. Merrick is charged with mutiny.
Well, technically, conduct to the prejudice of good order and discipline. The Navy has to prove Queeg was sane and Merrick was wrong.
And Merrick gets this lawyer, Lieutenant Barney Greenwald, a fighter pilot who really does not want this case.
No, he privately thinks Merrick is a dumb goof for doing what he did, unless Queeg was certifiably insane.
So the prosecution starts strong. They put Queeg on the stand, and he's cool, he's collected.
He's debonair and assured. He paints Merrick as this nervous subordinate who is just conceited about his own seamanship.
Willie's testimony is a key moment. He's torn between loyalty to Merrick and telling the truth.
And he admits his own dislike for Queeg might have colored his judgment, which helps the prosecution. But then he describes Queeg's paralyzed terror in the storm, and that's the first real crack in Queeg's story.
But the real turning point, the climax of the whole book, is Greenwald's cross-examination of Queeg.
It's a masterstroke. Greenwald's strategy isn't to prove Queeg is clinically insane, it's to prove he was unfit to command. He uses Article 185, the reasonable prudent officer test. Did Merrick have justifiable cause?
So he brings up everything. The water famine, the running from the Japanese at Kwajalein.
And he introduces Old Yellowstain into the official court record. Devastating.
But his real weapon is the strawberries.
Yes. He forces Queeg under oath to recount the entire ridiculous, obsessive hunt for the non-existent key, and he knows this is Queeg's trigger.
And Queeg just completely unravels on the stand.
It's terrifying to read. He can't stop talking, he's rolling the steel balls faster and faster, and he just descends into this hour-long paranoid rant, blaming Merrick and Willie for everything, even accusing them of having abnormal relations.
The court gets a live demonstration of the exact paranoia that Merrick documented in his log.
Exactly. Greenwald didn't have to prove insanity. Queeg did it for him. The verdict comes back fast. Merrick is acquitted.
But the celebration is cut short by one of the most incredible speeches in literature. Greenwald, at the party, completely turns the tables.
He's drunk and he's furious. He looks at Kiefer, who's bragging about selling his novel, Yellowstain, and he just unloads. He says the wrong man was put on trial.
He defends Queeg.
He defends Queeg. As a Jew, he says that men like Queeg, these stuffy, stupid Prussians, were the ones holding the line. He says Queeg stopped Herman Goring from washing his fat behind with my mother.
He argues that Queeg's miserable, rule-following existence was the shield that allowed intellectuals like Kiefer to sit back and criticize.
And he calls Kiefer out. He says Kiefer had the brains to see what was wrong, but he didn't have the guts to do anything about it. He just wanted to write a book.
And then he throws the glass of yellow wine in Kiefer's face.
The symbolic yellow stain. He says he only defended Merrick to sink Queeg for you. He identifies Kiefer as the true moral coward.
While all this is going on, Willie is having his own transformation. He finally breaks free from his mother.
He goes home and finally proposes to May Wynn, for real this time. He's no longer the bunny, he's the wolf-like bunny. He's ready to fight for what he wants, regardless of what his mother thinks.
But his ultimate test, his proof of leadership, comes back on the Caine.
After the trial, Kiefer is temporarily put in command. And during a kamikaze attack, he proves Greenwald 100% right.
He panics.
Completely, yells, "All hands abandon ship," and literally jumps overboard, clutching his bag of personal effects. Probably his novel manuscript.
And Willie steps up.
Willie, the clumsy kid with 48 demerits, takes command. He countermands the abandoned ship order, organizes damage control, and saves the ship. He earns a Bronze Star for it.
And Kiefer, when he's pulled out of the water, just says to him, "I jumped."
It's a total admission of failure. So Kiefer leaves, and Willie Keith becomes the last captain of the Caine. He's the one who gets to sail her home for decommissioning. His journey is complete. He's navigated his father's ordeal.
And it brings the whole thing together. The mutiny wasn't just about Queeg's paranoia. That was the trigger.
Right. It was really about the failure of conscience of the other officers, Kiefer especially, but also Willie, who saw the danger but didn't have the courage to act until Merrick was forced to take all the risk himself.
It leaves us with this really agonizing question, one that applies to any organization, not just the military. When does your loyalty to the institution, to the book, have to give way to your individual conscience?
Exactly. When is it your duty to break the rules? The book shows that leadership in these high-pressure situations is almost always flawed. Queeg was paranoid and a tyrant, but he was also a dedicated officer fighting a war. Merrick had to choose between his crew's lives and the entire structure of the chain of command.
So what does this all mean? It means the real test of character isn't just about being competent in a storm. It's about having the moral courage to confront flawed leadership, even when the personal risk is immense. And, maybe most chillingly, it suggests that sometimes the person who saves the ship isn't the one who knows the most, but the one who has the courage to act.